Hi, and thanks for joining. If you're new here, I'm Wendy, and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at garage sales, flea markets, thrift stores, just about anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, you're in the right place. Today's video is going to be what sold for the week of August 6th through 12th. But before we get started, I want to announce that we've almost reached 2,500 subscribers. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed and you enjoy this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button below with the notification bell turned on. It's super important this time because I'm announcing that when we hit 2,500 subscribers, we're giving away an iconic home studio ring light. More details on that in a future video, but make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can know when that giveaway is going to take place. All right, let's get started. The first thing we sold was a pair of girls' youth Sperry topsider shoes. We got these at a garage sale. We paid just 87 cents for them. I'd gotten a bulk rate at this garage sale. I'd gotten really good prices, bought tons of stuff. These particular shoes sold for $18.74. The buyer did open a return request on these shoes stating that they didn't fit, but then we never got the shoes back. The return request just expired and we never heard anything else again from the buyer. No feedback, nothing. So I'm assuming that she just didn't want to pay the return shipping. I'm not really sure what happened, but we never heard anything else. Next up is a Yamaha subwoofer, wireless subwoofer. We got this on the B-Stock liquidation pallet. I'll link that video above and in the description box below. We paid just about a little over $3,100 for the pallet, and that cost per item or cost per listing broke down to around $47.18 each. This item sold for $78.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was a men's Hobo Johnson graphic tee. We got this in the Goodwill bins. It sold for $18 even on best offer, and I had paid just 61 cents in the Goodwill bins. Next up was a vintage 1974 Looney Tunes jelly glass. Got this at a garage sale for 60 cents, which is a weird amount, so I must have gotten a bulk rate at that garage sale. And this glass sold for $11.18 on best offer. We got positive feedback on that. Next up was a lot of two girls Arizona long sleeve t-shirts. There was one that had stars on it, one that had a unicorn on it. These were in practically brand new condition. They belonged to my daughter, but I'm not sure she ever wore them. They sold for $15 even on best offer, and I don't remember what our cost was on them because we bought them a very long time ago. Next up was a 10-pack of Adorn clarinet reeds. They were all brand new, and within the box each of the reeds was sealed, but the plastic wrap around the outside of the box had been removed. So we did list them as new open box. We paid $5 for those at a garage sale, and they sold very, very quickly for $19 even on best offer. We did get positive feedback on those. Next up was a vintage Sarah Coventry brooch. It had multiple colored stones on it. It was a wreath shape. I had gotten this at a garage sale for 50 cents, and unfortunately at the garage sale I did not notice that the stones were missing. But when I researched this particular brooch, practically every single listing of it had stones missing, and I think it was the red stones. I think it must have just been a flaw in their design, like the glue that held those particular stones in place didn't last because those stones had fallen out on almost every single listing. Not all of them, but some of them had. So I did disclose that in the listing, and it did sell even still pretty quickly for $12.68 on offer to buyer. Next up was a Southern Cast Iron magazine from April 2018. I got that in a big lot of free magazines from someone on Nextdoor. That sold for $13.58 on offer to buyer. Next up was a Sony Smart Blu-ray DVD player. It had the remote control, all the cords, everything with it. That's we got at a garage sale for $5. It was in really good condition, and it sold for $39.99 very, very quickly. Next up was a vinyl record. It was Relax by Das Racist. We got it at our local thrift store along with several other modern vinyl records. We paid just $1.03 for that. We had listed it for $99.99, but we did accept a best offer on that of $60 even. I think we had the only one listed on eBay. I had researched it and seen that there were some other listings elsewhere online, but we had the only one listed on eBay. So it was kind of a hard to come by vinyl. Next up was a pair of Stuart Weitzman. I called them Cinderella heels because they were like clear slip-on heels with rhinestones. I was so excited when I found them. I was like blinded. I was like, oh my gosh, I found Cinderella's shoes. I didn't even notice that the heel was broken off on one of the shoes. Not broken off, but it was loose. It was loose on one of the shoes. So we did, I comped them, and this particular pair, had they been in pristine condition, might have sold for like $75. So I decided, they were so pretty, I decided I was going to take them to the cobbler and have that heel repaired. So I did, and we are out of pocket cost on those with how much we paid for them at the thrift store, which was maybe around $3 or $4, plus the cost of having them repaired set us back a total of $17.48. Unfortunately, we only got $28 for those on best offer. We did have them listed for a while. There were some rhinestones missing on one of them, so they just weren't moving, and I finally accepted an offer of $28. So we definitely lost, I think we lost money on that deal. Not worth it, but you know, oh well, what are you gonna do? Next up was something we definitely made money on. It was a vintage World War II 1941 pocket Bible. So it was a very small little Bible that would fit in your pocket, Army issued Bible. This we got at the thrift store for 49 cents, and it sold on best offer for $50 even. Got positive feedback on that. Next up was a lot of 9 T120 blank VHS video cassettes. We got most of these at the thrift store at various times. Some of them probably at garage sales. We'll pick them up when we see them, if we can get them for less than $1 usually. And then we'll lot them together and sell them in a big lot. So these sold for $32.99 on our full asking price, and we had paid a combined price of $3.25 for those. We got positive feedback on that sale as well. Next up was another garage sale purchase. This was a Lego Angry Birds set called King Pig's Castle. It wasn't complete. It was missing some of the auxiliary pieces like an airplane and a catapult, but the majority of the actual central part, which was King Pig's Castle, was complete. I had gotten a bunch of big Lego sets at a garage sale for $75-ish, but I broke that down per set and said that I paid $11 for this set, and this one sold for $29.99, which was our full asking price. Next up was a vintage Playboy. This was a non-US Playboy. This was a German version of a Playboy. This sold for $19.99, which was our full asking price, and we had gotten these in a big bulk purchase of Playboys. This was the only non-US Playboy in there. And we paid, I think, $40-something for the whole lot of them, but it broke down to $1.43 per issue. Next up was a men's Magellan fishing shirt. We got this at the Reseller garage sale where a couple of resellers were offloading their old inventory. We got a bunch of stuff and paid a bulk price, and our per item cost on each item was $3.28. This item sold for $16.50 on best offer. Fishing shirts of all kinds do well. Magellan is not one of the better brands, but there are some brands of fishing shirts that sell for really, really high. If you want to get more information about fishing shirts, you should check out Thrift Alife's channel. He has got a lot of really good information about men's clothes and fishing shirts, all kinds of good information on his channel. I will link that above and in the description box below. Next up was a Western Digital internal hard drive for a computer. We picked up 2 of these at our local thrift store. They were different sizes. This one sold, the other one's still listed. This one sold for how much did it sell for? This one sold for $46.68 on offer to buyer, and we had paid $3.24 for it at the thrift store. The box was kind of beat up, but it was brand new in the package. Next up was a Wonder Woman Blu-ray DVD, new and sealed. We got this at a garage sale. We paid $1 for it. It sold on best offer for $7.50. So that's not much, but my husband was pointing out the other day that everything Wonder Woman that we have ever picked up and listed has sold. I don't think we have anything left in our inventory that's Wonder Woman. So that doesn't mean that everything Wonder Woman would sell, but everything that we've ever picked up that's Wonder Woman themed has sold. So that's interesting. People like Wonder Woman. Next up is another item from the B-Stock liquidation palette. This was a Netgear Nighthawk AX8 wireless router. This one was in used condition. It sold for $118.38, and we had paid $47.18 per item on that pallet. We did get positive feedback on this. Next up was another Bible. This one was a New Catholic Edition Bible. It sold for $19.99, and we had gotten it at an estate sale for $2. Got positive feedback on that as well. Next up was a men's Ralph Lauren button-down shirt with the pony embroidery. We got that at a thrift store for $2.17, and it sold for offer to buyer at $27.98, and we got positive feedback on that as well. Next up was a Samsung surround sound system. So it was like the whole shebang. It had all the speakers, the sound bar, everything. It was very expensive to ship. It sold for $209.99, and which was our full asking price. And like I said, we paid $47.18. Next up was a pair of the kids saltwater sandals. These were the turquoise surfer style. These sold for $33.74. So the buyer had purchased them at our full asking price, but applied a coupon or a promotion that we had going on at the time. The deal with the saltwater sandals is I had purchased a big lot of kids shoes on liquidation. Most of them were saltwater brand, a few other brands, but I had purchased someone's kids shoe inventory. They were closing down their online kids shoe store, and so I purchased a lot of their inventory. They were all brand new shoes, and I've sold a lot of the shoes, and we haven't had any issues with them. Everybody's been really happy with them. Saltwater is a really good high-end brand. It does really well. If you ever see it out in the wild used, it will resell used for pretty good too. So this buyer, I heard back from them. Obviously, it was within the return window frame, but she messaged me and said, she opened a return and said, my kids worn these shoes multiple times and they fell apart. And I'm like, well, she's worn them multiple times. I'm thinking, you can't return shoes that have been worn multiple times, first of all. So I was kind of taken aback by that, and I didn't really know how to handle it. She sent me a picture, and the shoes indeed were destroyed. And I looked very carefully at the pictures that she sent, making sure I could see the size, that it matched the size that I sent her. I wanted to make sure she hadn't sent me a photo of destroyed shoes that she had found on the internet or something, but it did match the size that I sent. So, maybe I took her at her word that the shoes actually fell apart. But my conundrum was this. I didn't, really know what the shoes had been through, I guess, so to speak. What were they the wrong size? Was she trying to squeeze a foot into the shoes that was too big? eBay's return policy covers for you to return unused items. It doesn't cover you to wear the items multiple times and then return them back to the seller. you know, that kind of thing would be covered under a product warranty, I guess, which, you know, I suppose as a reseller, I don't know that saltwater would cover these shoes under any kind of warranty. I'm not sure how that would work. So I was really torn on what to do. Like, do I refund her? Because obviously the shoes had been destroyed, but on the other hand, I didn't really know what had been done to the shoes. So ultimately, I just decided to give her her money back and have that be the end of it, because I could tell by the tone of her messages that it was not going to end well for my feedback score if I didn't. But let me know how you would have handled that situation, because I did not think that was a fair use of the eBay return policy to open a return on something that you had worn multiple times. But on the other hand, it probably wasn't fair to her if the shoes indeed did get destroyed after just wearing them a few times. But how would you have handled that situation? Because I did feel very torn. You know, from a buyer's perspective, I put myself in her shoes and, you know, just decided to give her her money back. But let me know how you would have handled that situation, because that one was a difficult one for me. I was unsure how to handle that. Next up was a men's vintage Hawaiian shirt. The brand was Styled by RJC. We had picked this up at a garage sale. We paid just $1 for it, and it sold pretty quickly for $23.98. It didn't move super fast, but it didn't sit around for as long as I thought it would. And we did get positive feedback on that. It went, I don't remember where it went, but it went somewhere through the global shipping program. Next up was a Sony remote control for a TV. We got this in a big bag of remotes at the thrift store. We paid 27 cents for it, and this remote sold for $15 even on best offer. We test all our remotes before we list them, and we tested this one and it worked. Next up was a brand new sealed DVD. The show or movie was called We Sing Grandpa's Magical Toys. This we got in the Goodwill bins. There was a day that we went to the bins where there were just tons of sealed DVDs in the bins, and we just happened to be there at the right time, and we got as many sealed DVDs as we could find. And this was one of the more obscure titles, so it did take a while to sell. But the good news about obscure titles is you can usually ask more, you can fetch a higher price for them, you're just waiting for the right buyer to come along. So this did eventually sell for $19.99. We had paid just 67 cents at the bins, and we got positive feedback on this. Next up was a women's Barefoot Dreams robe. It was kind of like a lounger robe. So it didn't open all the way up in the front. It had like a half zip, and it was a pull over your head, and it had a hood. This sold for $45 even on best offer, and we had paid $3 for this at a garage sale. Barefoot Dreams is definitely a brand to be on the lookout for, because some of their different items can sell for quite high. Next up is a dandy animated singing lobster. It sang the song Feeling Hot, Hot, Hot. It was brand new in its package. It worked. And we had gotten this at the thrift store. We paid $2.70 for it, and it sold pretty quickly on our full asking price of $32.99. Next up was a really good sale. It was a brand new in-box bottle of McGraw Southern Blend cologne. And this was not a full-size bottle of cologne either. This was like a travel or sample size bottle, a half ounce. So it was a really small bottle inside that box. And I had comped this when I went to this garage sale trying to find it, and this is a discontinued cologne, and it's a very rare, hard to find discontinued cologne, because when I was trying to comp it, I couldn't find it anywhere. When I got home, I was able to find it, but I wasn't, at first I was like, I don't know if I want to pay $5 for this. And then I was like, oh, I'm just going to risk it, because with colognes and perfumes, man, you can either really hit a home run with that cologne or perfume, or, you know, it can be hardly worth anything at all. But I decided to take the risk, and I'm so glad I did, because it ended up selling for $89.99, which was our full asking price, and it sold almost immediately. So definitely worth it. If you ever see that, Tim McGraw, I think Tim McGraw has multiple different colognes that are discontinued. Any kind of Tim McGraw cologne, definitely worth picking up. But that Southern Blend one is definitely something that people are trying to get. Discontinued item. Next up was a lot of 14 vintage 1950s Mexico postcards. We got these at an estate sale in a big bulk lot of vintage 1950s postcards. These we paid 40 cents for, and they sold on best offer for $13.25. Next up was a vintage package of Hallmark Thanksgiving or fall themed invitations. These said the best times are together times. These sold for $14 even on best offer, and we had paid just 92 cents for these at the Goodwill bins. Next up was another bottle of men's cologne that I had gotten at that same garage sale, but this was an Avon cologne. It was new, but it didn't have a box or anything. So I'm not sure if it would have originally come with a box. I just listed it as new open box. This one was called Avon Wild Country. Unfortunately, it was not quite as valuable as the other one, but it did sell just as fast as the other one. This one I paid $3 for, and it sold almost immediately for $13.99. Next up was a vintage Duo Fast air power stapler instruction manual and catalog, and it had like some other various pieces of paperwork that went along with it. This is something that was just laying around in a storage area at our custom picture frame shop. This is something that probably we would have just thrown away because it's not a piece of equipment or a tool that we have anymore. But we know now that vintage manuals for old tools, camera equipment, electronics are something that people buy on eBay, and sometimes those manuals sit around in our store for a very long time because it's a kind of a niche item, and the right buyer definitely has to come around to find that manual that they're looking for, but those manuals always eventually sell for us. And they don't take up any space, and it is definitely worth listing. So this one we probably had listed for about 2.5 years, but it did eventually sell for $12.99. And that is something that would have just gone in our trash can otherwise, so definitely worth it. Next up was another package of the vintage 1970s Hallmark invitations. These were more fall-themed invitations. I believe these went to the same buyer. These said, "We're having a gathering." These sold for $13 even on best offer, and we had paid 92 cents for these at the bins. Next up was one of my daughter's old shirts. It was called a legging t-shirt. That's actually what it said on the tag, legging t-shirt. So it was kind of an oversized long sleeve t-shirt designed to go with a pair of leggings. And it was a holiday themed. It said merry and bright on it. That sold for just $8 even on best offer. We had that in our store for a long time, just ready to get it out the door. Next up was a brand new sealed package of playing cards by the brand Theory 11, and they had kind of an interesting print on them. So we'll pick up playing cards when they have, an interesting design or print on them, if we see them new in the package somewhere like a garage sale. And that's where we got these, was at a garage sale, and these cards sold for $9 on best offer pretty quickly. Next up was a women's Banana Republic 100% merino wool, just a classic button-down cardigan. Something that would be a classic wardrobe staple item. So this is something that we picked up at the thrift store for $2.16, and it sold for $20 even on best offer. Next up was an Eddie Bauer hip flask, and it was a leather wrapped hip flask. We got that at a garage sale for 50 cents, and it sold really quickly for $16.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was an Angry Birds plush backpack clip. We got that at a thrift store. We paid $1.08 for it, and it sold on best offer for $15 even. Next up was a pair of plus size silver jeans. The style was Suki Mid Capri. We got these at a garage sale. We paid $4 for them, and they sold for $35.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was a lot of 5 Douglas Adams audiobooks. We got these at the thrift store. These were in the cart that they were pushing out, stocking the shelves. This is usually where we get our very best items from the thrift store, is in that stocking the shelves cart. You got to catch them right when they're coming out with the new merchandise. But this is Douglas Adams is the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and that audiobook was in this lot along with 4 other audiobooks by him. Some of them were brand new sealed. I think most of them were brand new sealed, and a couple of them were new opened, but in really good condition. So those we paid $5.14 at the thrift store, and they sold very quickly for $45.04. The buyer did apply a coupon or a discount that we had going that particular month on books, I think. And we got positive feedback on that listing. Next up, I will go over all of our collectible card sales. We did have one high value collectible card sale from my husband's personal collection, and that was a Magic the Gathering Legends card. The particular card was Lady Evangela. It sold for $64.99 on auction. And next up, I'll go over all of the lower value card sales, and these are cards valued at $10 or under. We sold 9 cards total for a total value of $22.61. So that wraps up all of our sales for the week of August 6th through 12th. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, as a reminder, when we hit 2,500 subscribers, we're going to be giving away this iconic home studio ring light to one lucky winner. More information on that giveaway to follow in a future video. If you enjoyed this video, please let us know by hitting the like button, and we will catch you on the flip side.